Welcome back to another edition of the 8-Figure Attorney Podcast. I am here with my next guest. He is a multi-million-dollar trial attorney. He's got a great law practice right here in Atlanta, Georgia. He's a native of Atlanta. He's doing big things. His name, for those of you that don't know, is Riah Winston Greathouse. He is the founding partner, owner, and managing trial attorney at Greathouse Trial Law right here in Atlanta.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and so much more than that, right?
So much more. Tell me about that. What else? That's right. You're an entrepreneur.
I am.
You're not just a lawyer. You're not just a lawyer, law firm owner.
I just bought a truck for a trucking company. Okay. I'm not going to drive it. But
not going to drive it?
No, man. You know, one of the things that we do as lawyers is we deal with problems, right? We see issues, and it's not enough to just see an issue, but our job as lawyers is we want to solve the issue, right?
True.
So, you know, we bought a condo, a rental property, in Miami, your neck of the woods.
True.
Because we want to see where Seth is from, so we want to hang out in Miami more. And we are furnishing that condo, and we closed, about 6 months ago, and we still don't have furniture. And it's because there's a trucking issue in America. There are no truckers, right?
Okay. So you guys bought a condo because you're living large, you're doing well. You get a condo in South Florida.
Yeah.
You're trying to get furniture down there, but you can't get it down there. So you decide to start your own trucking company.
Well, you see, so that's, if there's an issue, if I'm not the only person that feels this way, if there's a huge shortage, I mean, think about it. COVID really highlighted so many issues in supply chains and workforce and so forth. So my thing is saying, all right, well, I can be part of the solution and make some money off of it. So that's what is it? Invention is the necessity of, or the, whatever the saying is. But you know where I'm going with it, right? So if I'm saying, hey, I'm looking for other ways to, add to my portfolio, why not be part of a solution and say, look, if I can jump in and get a truck and help fulfill this need that others are facing, then why not? It just makes logical sense to me.
So you got yourself a truck.
Got a truck.
What's the name of the company?
Higher Vision.
Higher Vision.
Transport.
Gotcha. Well, what's the basis for the name?
I mean, just like yourself and any other person who is a business owner, it starts with a vision, right? Before you can jump in and start executing and putting a plan, it starts with the vision of what do you want, where do you want to go? And that's the same thing here, where we've got a vision. I particularly have a vision for what I would like out of my life when it's all said and done. The freedom financially and, work-wise to do whatever I want, when I want. So in that vision, I look to a higher source, which is my creator, who I think has gifted me with the ability to execute on that vision. So it kind of just made sense when I thought about it. Higher vision. So there we are.
And what about, what's your vision for either for your law firm or for your life?
My ultimate vision and purpose, I want to live in a way that, when I meet my creator, I can say that I've done everything with all of the tools and resources that I've been given. I don't know what that looks like exactly. I'm still working on defining that. But, it's like someone said the other day, she made a comment, saying, man, it's like you've got your hand in everything. And it's like, well, that's what hands are for, right? So think about how many of us have these ideas and we never jump on it. I mean, the only difference between you or me and, people who, maybe thinking, man, I want to start a firm or how can I be an 8-figure attorney, whatever. It's the execution, right? It's not that we all didn't have the idea or the dream or the goal. It's that execution, right? So when I, in the end, and I'm on my deathbed or I'm meeting my maker, I want to say that I did it. Everything that popped in my mind, I did it. I executed. I didn't leave anything in my head. My mom used to say, or I don't know if it was my mom or whoever used to say, there's a lot of untapped potential in the graveyard. The graveyard's full of potential, right? So I think it would be such a waste if we didn't think bigger, if we didn't get everything out of our head on the paper and just do it. What made you say, I want bigger, I want more? Because I think that's why our friendship works, right? Because every time we talk, it's always about something. How can we get the next advantage? How can we do something bigger? How can we do something better? I mean, what makes you want to do that?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great question.
I know, that's why I asked it.
And, it ties into my vision for my business, which is from a law firm, which is actually, I think, atypical of a law firm, right? A lot of law firms are, to make a meaningful impact in the clients' lives, to hit certain objective metrics. But, mine is to inspire, hope, and empower people. And I think that for me, that vision is something that provides me with purpose and direction every single day. And I think that the way that I live, the way that I work, the risks that I take, are things that I'm able to do to provide others with that kind of inspiration and that hope, and provide them the belief that, if I could do it, then they certainly can do it too.
Yeah. But I think that the common thing that we're saying is we want to create something that's bigger than either one of us.
Sure.
I know you've got a beautiful family. I've got a family. And when we start thinking about, what kind of legacy are we leaving, down the road when we're gone, will our vision live on? Will the firm live and die with us? Or is it something that will continue throughout generations? And that's something that I think of every single day. And I don't even think of it just in the sense of with me and my family, but think about how many lives we get to touch every day. And not just the lives of the clients, because everyone talks about their clients and everything, but the way that we're able to service our clients is because we also are providing a lifestyle or lives for our employees, right? And I know you've got a number of employees, and I know that you guys put a lot of emphasis in training, into those employees, and I try to do the same with our team. We want a happy team because a happy team is going to translate and make happy clients, right? But that means that they've got to be taken care of. That means that they've got to be fulfilling something that is in alignment with their values.
Sure.
And that's something that we try to do even when we recruit. We're now recruiting for people who have like-minded values instead of trying to find people and then make them fit into our values. Do we have people who are, wanting more as well, that don't have a basic vision, a limited vision of just saying, well, I just want somewhere I can go to work and just punch in, 9 to 5 and get a paycheck and I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that alignment with values is so critical in any relationship. And I think as we've grown our business and we've evolved, what we've realized is just how critical that alignment is. And just like you, I think for a long time we were trying to sort of mold people into sort of our values. And what I realized is that, yes, we can do that to a certain extent, but it's much easier if you can just find people that sort of connect with your values, with your vision and your mission. And it's really good for everybody in the relationship.
Yeah. But therein lies the problem. Unfortunately, I think COVID has really exposed a lot of people and their true values. And it's not saying that they're wrong, but I think that we're finding more and more that many individuals don't have the same values, that same alignment as the businesses, where you're finding people that say, well, it's important to me to, I want to work from home and only log in the computer for 45 minutes a day. That's cool. Go for you. I'm not going to knock you on if that's how, you're aligned, but that's not going to work for us.
Well, I'm curious, what are some either values or sort of traits that you're looking for in team members that you hire?
So the first thing that we look for, when we really dug down deep in, what are our values? What's our core mission? Who are we?
Who is Winston?
Who's Winston? Don't call me that. No, it's cool.
Who are you guys?
We're good people. I mean, there's no fancy word. There's no deep complex. It's just be good people.
Yeah.
And it seems like that would be so simple, but yet we find out that it's not. We just want to be a good steward in the community. And that word community, that's something that we really had to focus on. I had to redefine what's community. Community is a group of similarly situated people, right? So in this case, we're saying we want similarly like-minded people with the same values. So ours is, I wanted to create a team of people that are just good. They care. And that's one of the things that you can't teach. I know you like sports. It's like in sports, you can't teach hustle. You can't teach someone to care, to go to the extra mile. And I mean, think about it. You always have these athletes that have this amazing talent, this amazing potential, and they don't live up to it because they don't care. So that's what's important to me, is finding people who care, people who want to pick up the phone and they're listening to our clients when they're calling in for help. Because let's face it, people aren't calling us because everything's going well. Our clients are calling us because there's a problem, right? So I want someone that's representing Greathouse to pick up the phone, and you hear it through the phone. Just as we're talking, that you're looking and you're agreeing, and not, oh my gosh, let me pick up my phone like you're talking. And I'm making this call because I know that that's what my employer wants me to do, but I really don't care because I'm thinking about what I'm going to eat for lunch, or, what I'm going to do as soon as 5 o'clock hits and I get the hell out of here.
So what you're saying, and I think this is a really important point, because a lot of times I've known a lot of really great lawyers in terms of like their technical skill and their knowledge, but they don't care.
Yeah.
Like just speak about just the importance. There's a lot of young lawyers probably watching this, maybe aspiring lawyers.
Sure.
Just talk about the importance of just caring about your client and caring about your work.
I always say that if you do right by the client, meaning you care and you genuinely tap into what they're going through and how to solve that problem, the money's going to come because that's the next result, right? You see the problem, you solve the problem, you get the money. A lot of people can't truly solve the problem because they're not engaged enough to figure out what the true problem is. So in my honest opinion, by doing that, they're leaving money on the table. Doesn't matter how great you are at what you're doing, but if you can't tap in and say, hey, I've got this client who called me and, they're treating with the doctor. They've got a great case on paper as far as liability, but man, I'm talking to her and I'm realizing, geez, she's going through depression. She's going through other issues. Then by that, now I can say, you know what? This lady needs some other help. Maybe she needs to go to a therapist. Maybe she needs to start journaling, what she's going through and so forth. And now by tapping into that, that's extra value that I've created in the case just by caring.
So I just want to be clear. Basically, there is a correlation.
Absolutely.
There's a correlation between the amount that the lawyer cares and the amount of compensation that the lawyer is able to receive and obtain.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I truly believe it. I mean, that's what's going to make, those $100,000 cases into $200,000 cases and so forth, going that extra mile. Because otherwise, on surface, you're just going to do the normal car wreck. All right, you went to the chiropractor, then you got your MRI, and you maybe go to physical therapy or, an ortho, and the end. That's it. But a person, we're complex people, and that's what you have to break every single thing down. You have to say, all right, well, if your head's hurting, let's get you to the neurologist. If your back's hurting, let's get you to the, the pain doctor or the spine specialist. If you're hurting mentally, then let's treat your mind. Let's get you to some counseling. And those are the points that people aren't looking at. They're just looking at it like a sausage factory. Let's get you in, let's get you out. And a lot of firms do it and they have some success. That's cool. But what's really going to solve that problem? And the only way to do that is by digging in with each client. And if you don't care, then there's no way and you're going to take the time to do that.
The vast majority of cases your firm handles are what, car accident cases? Yeah. Okay, just talk to me in general. I know how it works, but I want you to explain generally the basics of a car accident in terms of a car accident case. When a client comes in, what are sort of the 3 or 4 things you're looking at to determine if there's a case, and then what are you going to do to maximize the value? So let's just start with the easy part, or the first part, and that is, as a car accident attorney, what are you looking at and looking to determine whether you have a potential case you can help somebody with?
So to simplify it and not make this a law school course, for our viewers who aren't lawyers, or our listeners who aren't lawyers, it's simple. There are two parts that I'm looking at from jump. The first is liability, meaning, did someone have an obligation or did they have a duty to do something or not to do something, and did they breach that? So in the sense of a car accident, you have a duty to follow the rules of the road. And oftentimes, maintaining your lane, traveling at a decent speed, not following too closely, those things. So that's the first thing that I'm looking at. And, of course, that's evidenced by a police report. If the person got a ticket, they rear-ended you, boom. Liability is generally not an issue. Obviously, they did something wrong because you've just got rear-ended, right? And then next piece that you look at, the next part of that, the damages, and that's where you start to look at the medical treatment. What are their injuries? What is it? How is it that this person's lost something, whether that's, lost their peace of mind or, the physical ability to do something, or they lost, monetary sense and so forth. So those are the two big pictures that I'm looking at. Anytime we get a case, those are the main two questions that we have to address to be able to help someone with their case.
And how do you maximize the value of a case? Like, what is sort of general strategy?
Yeah.
If you were trying to explain to a client what you're going to be doing to maximize the value of their case?
Well, the number one thing, the way to maximize value is to go get medical treatment. So, as we are attorneys, and as a trial attorney would tell you, no matter what area of the law, if you're in trial, your main thing is evidence, right? You've got to prove your case. So I'm telling every single client, you've got to be able to get the evidence for us to show the other party that, whether it's the defendant personally or the insurance company, why they should pay us something. And it's not good enough to say, hey, my back hurts, my head hurts, or, my arm's broken. But we actually have to have you going to a doctor who can memorialize that in the medical records, which then, in turn becomes our evidence. So that's where it really starts with us. You've got to go to the doctors, and, we work with the best doctor. You talk about maximizing. Doctors matter. Not all doctors, just like not all lawyers are created equal. Not all doctors are equal. So often, clients want to go to whatever one-stop shop they see on TV, and just as we talked about taking the time to care, they're not getting that treatment. They're getting rushed through. They're getting some chiropractic adjustments, and then they're released on their way, and it's not really resolving. So I think that's the important thing, is making sure that we're getting them with the best medical team and specialists on top of that to treat every part of the body. So
having a team of doctors and medical specialists is critical to not only your success, but your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the client's got to follow the doctor's orders, because sometimes we get clients that think that they're smarter than us, and they try to say, well, I don't want to go to the doctor because I don't want them to eat I don't want it to eat into my settlement money. I don't want all my money to go towards my bills. But then it's like, well, you've got to get the treatment to be able to get the money, because if you don't get the money, if you don't get the treatment, there's not going to be any money at all for anybody. So it's kind of a catch in telling them, hey, the more that you go to treatment and the more that you follow doctor's orders, you actually get more money in your pocket. So it's kind of counterintuitive to them, but that's what we try to explain to them. And that's a conversation that we have up front to them. We have to have up front, because if you're not, then it's likely that people are going to say, well, I'm not going to keep going and incurring medical bills because I want money in my pocket at the end of the day.
Let's just talk a little bit more about the law, and then I want to come back to business, entrepreneurship, sports, some other things. You good with time?
Yeah, we're good.
You got your workout coming up?
Yeah.
You got your water?
We're good.
Okay. Is there a case or two, just that you want to talk about, this sort of really is representative of the quality of the work you do, and, where you've really maximized the value?
Man, to be honest, no, there's not, because we are not, or we were not overnight successes. I can't point and say that there was one case that we got 8 figures on and boom, we, our firm was spawned off of that. I mean, every single case that we get is, it has value that we have to figure out, all right, how are we going to maximize it? And a lot of times the attorneys are quick to sell you on the, hey, we've got the 7 and 8 figure, recovery. And that's great. Those are cool. But the majority of the cases are not going to be 7 and 8 figure recoveries. The majority of them are not going to be 6 figure recoveries. So I think it's saying, how can we take even the cases that are considered these minor impact soft tissue or missed, as they call them, these cases, and how can we maximize it? The majority of the cases that come in our door where, let's say, there are $25,000 policy limits, I expect every single case that's what we're going to get. That's how I tell my team. If we don't get at least the minimal policy limits of $25,000, we did something wrong, meaning either A, we did not properly vet that case, or B, we did not properly walk that client through medical treatment. Because every single case, when you think about it, when it takes the true, diagnostics, when you say, hey, after you've gone to this doctor, that doctor, you've gotten this test, you're at a point where the insurance company is generally going to have to pay you, their full policy, that full $25,000 to cover it, right? And if you don't get it, then that means that you left something on the table. There was something that you didn't do. There was some type of treatment that was available to the client that we did not expose them to.
You mentioned policy limits.
Yeah.
So there's consumers and people out there in the community that don't know anything about insurance policies, policy limits. Just kind of speak to them and explain what policy limits are and what sort of the general consumer can do to protect themselves in the event that they're in an accident.
So policy limits. So anytime, you're in a car wreck, someone hits you, yes, you may be filing a claim against them, or if it has to, go into a suit, you're suing them. But the money comes from the insurance company. That's who's paying for it. That person's generally not paying for it out of their pocket. But based on your policy, just as we all of us who own cars, we have, insurance coverage. There's an amount that we sign up that they're going to basically pay out, the most that they'll pay out. So in the state of Georgia, for instance, $25,000 per person, a maximum of $50,000 for the car. That's the minimal limit in the state of Georgia to be legal. So that means that for that particular case, if that policyholder, that individual hits someone, the most that his insurance will pay out to a single person is $25,000. Doesn't matter if it's a death case, if it's a huge catastrophic surgical. If they only have 25, they only have 25. That's it. So what people can do to protect themselves from that is to have what's called uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage, UM or UIM. And what that is where you can have it in your own insurance coverage where it's supplemental, where it says, all right, for instance, if I've got $100,000 of UM or UIM coverage and you've got 25, after I've gotten your 25, now I've got an additional 100 that I can go for.
I see.
So you kind of stack it that way. So it's extremely important, especially in a huge city like ours. You got to have UM coverage. It's almost negligence. We're talking in the sense of the law. You're almost committing personal negligence if there's a such thing by not protecting yourself and having a UM policy or UIM policy.
And what does a UM or UIM policy typically cost?
It's usually nominal. I mean, you can add it. It might be the difference of literally, $50 on your policy.
Got it. So $50 is the difference between potentially only securing $25,000 policy limits, or maybe nothing if the driver doesn't have it, and securing potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in the event that your damage is justified.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's right.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning. I wanted to talk about the law, and I know you're into kind of a few different businesses, but you mentioned only one. That's the trucking business, Higher Vision.
Yeah.
But you also own some other businesses.
Yeah.
How many other businesses? Do you know?
That's a good question.
Do you own multiple businesses? You're a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah. It's what gets me going.
Does it?
Yeah.
All right, tell me about those other businesses.
We've got a mosquito business.
A what?
Mosquito control.
A mosquito
shield.
Mosquito shield. Now, what problem were you solving there? Like, what got you into
mosquitoes? Everybody hates mosquitoes.
They are a problem, especially in the summertime. But like, how? So it was like, how did that come about?
So actually, we were looking for something else to diversify our portfolio. I'm not a big stock market guy.
I gotcha.
A lot of people do stock market or crypto. You do crypto? Are you doing that? Yeah, because I don't understand it. I don't know it. I don't understand crypto. And I mean, Bitcoin seems cool, but at the end of the day, it's rolling the dice, right? So what I do know is business.
Okay.
So I said, all right, well, why don't I invest in businesses? So I actually started working with this franchise guy, franchise broker, I guess. Just kind of saying, what else do you have out there? And he said, look, if you don't care about, the business being sexy, because mosquitoes are not sexy. No one, I don't think, grows up saying I want to own a mosquito business. He says, if you don't care about that, I've got something.
You don't think anybody grows up wanting to own a mosquito business?
Not in the city of Atlanta.
Gotcha.
If they do, then, I mean,
That was not your higher vision.
That was not my higher. No, it actually was. It falls in the higher vision.
Oh, tell me
the
about
money
that.
from the mosquitoes, not the actual mosquitoes not working. Like, you're not going to see me out with a pack spraying for mosquitoes.
So tell me about this business. So you own a mosquito.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? What do y'all do? You just go and you just kill the mosquitoes?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing that's about our product, and this is a plug for Mosquito Shield. Mosquito
Shield
is the name of it.
All right, check it out. Mosquito Shield. Where can they find that?
MoShield.com.
MoShield. MoShield. Okay, tell me about MoShield.
So they actually have a proprietary blend.
Okay.
It's a product that's all natural, and this is not a sales play. It's all natural, so it's environmental friendly. That's the one thing that had to be important. You can't just be spraying, drugs around.
I got you.
Around the environment. And it not only kills the mosquito, but it actually repels and keeps them away, because what we found was that a lot of mosquito, and man, I know this is fascinating, right?
This feels like a sales pitch.
No.
Because we got a big backyard.
So a lot of companies, but you're not in our zone. But Luis signed up. Luis is a customer. Luis is a customer. A lot of them kill and mask the problem, but they don't solve the problem. So what we actually do is our product actually repels. It creates a barrier.
Okay, I've heard enough.
Around the yard.
Here's what I want to know. How in the world did you get into the mosquito business?
Money,
I got you.
Opportunity.
And so how long have you owned the mosquito business?
Just a year. It's new.
Gotcha.
It's new.
And how's it going so far?
It's going. Like any other business. It's got its lumps and
you
stuff.
have the bandwidth for the mosquito business, the trucking business now. Yeah. The law firm.
Well, in all fairness, I am not managing it. While it's mine, one of the things that I learned that I think makes our team great, no pun intended, at Greathouse Trial Law, my first true project and kind of venture into entrepreneurship is that you've got to be able to delegate. You've got to be able to have a team around you.
Sure.
That buys into your vision and can execute said vision. And that's what I have in my personal team. So that's why I can get into other ventures that don't necessarily require my human capital and time and resources, because I'm not getting out there coordinating, when or where we're going to spray for mosquitoes, just as I'm not sitting there lining up loads to carry across the country. But what I do is I recognize the need for it, and I put the infrastructure in place and put the individuals that can manage said, operation, and let them do their thing. Get out of there. Because I think that's the key to leadership. I'm sure, as you know, as a leader, you've got to get out the way. I saw something that was pretty cool, or I heard something that was cool on, what's the show, Billions. You ever watch Billions?
No.
You should check it out, especially as an entrepreneur.
Tell me.
Sorry, so the point is, in Billions, what he said was, there's a reason that generals aren't in the trenches. And that stuck with me. And it's like, man, you're right. Generals aren't on the front lines because you're a general for a reason. You're there for the big picture. You're not there to be down in the trenches executing. You get stuck in the weeds. And that happens so often with business owners where they can't get out of their own way. They become the bottleneck, especially lawyers. So often you've got the lawyer that's out there doing the marketing, right? And then they're doing the sign up, meaning they're doing their intake. And then there are ones that are sitting there ordering their own medical records. They're sitting there doing their own postage. They're doing everything else when it's like, all right, you've got to make a decision. Are you going to be the secretary, or are you going to be the lawyer, or are you going to be the CEO? You can't be all three. I think that for a time, depending on the types of cases in your load, you can be the lawyer and you can be the CEO, but you can't be down in the weeds where you're doing things that takes you away from what makes you great. And if you're a lawyer, you're getting paid for your mind. You're not getting paid to answer the phone and mail out, postage and stamps, right? Or to mail out letters. So often, we see lawyers where it's like, man, why don't you hire someone? They're like, well, I don't want to spend the money, but they're actually making less money than they could if they just if they just invested in help, if they weren't stuck in the weeds. So that's not just law. I mean, that's in any business. And so often, they get stuck there. Obviously, you didn't become the 8-figure attorney by yourself, right?
Definitely not.
You had a team.
A huge team.
Because at some point, you had to make the decision that Seth Bader is only one man, and no matter how great and amazing of a man that Seth Bader guy is, he's still Seth Bader, right?
I mean, there's no question that as I was scaling the business, really what prevented me initially from scaling was that I was not comfortable delegating, and I tried to do everything. And then I think as time went on, I realized the importance of leveraging other people and other people's time and other people's skills so that I could, focus on whatever was my highest and best use, which at the time was to handle cases and to do the marketing. And then I think that got me so far, and then I still needed to continue to scale. In order to do that, I had to give up other responsibilities, and which of course led to my partnership with Louis Scott. So he's been able to take over most of the operational responsibilities. And so it really, since then, we've really been able to grow exponentially. And there's no question that the growth of the firm kind of has been connected to the growth of the leaders and the number of leaders that we've had, which has really allowed us to scale much faster. Talk to me about your other business. You got any other businesses?
Oh, man. So one that's a true passion, I'd say that I'm probably the most passionate about in addition to my firm, of course. I'm the president of an app called Caseless.
Okay.
And what that is, and this one is actually something that was birthed. So prior to me, getting into personal injury, I was an assistant DA. So I've got a huge soft spot for the criminal justice system, and I think that I think all of us can agree, no matter where you are on the political spectrum, that we've got to do something about the amount of incarcerated people in this country. So what Caseless does is it actually is a monitoring app that leverages facial recognition and GPS tracking to allow for offenders to check in remote or virtually. So think about it. I'll use this example. I had a buddy that unfortunately got a DUI, and as such, he's put on probation, and part of that probation is, once a month you've got to check in, right? Which means that he's got to stop what he's doing. He's got to call out from work, drive downtown in, crappy Atlanta downtown traffic. He's got to find a place to park. He's got to pay for said parking. He's got to go wait in line, which, you know how government works. It's not the fastest process, where now you look at it, he spent 5, 6, 7 hours for 30-minute meeting with his probation officer, when that's something that now it's taken away from his livelihood. It's been extremely disruptive to his life, meaning that as part of that probation, we're saying, well, we want our offenders to maintain gainful employment, but then it's like not everyone has a job they can take off from. If you're a wage earner, you possibly could lose your job. You lose a whole day worth of work for having to go down for probation. So just think, if it's something where your probation officer says, all right, you've got a 1:30 check-in. Hey, I want to make sure you're at work. You're where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be at that time. Boom, they're pulling up their iPhone and they're using our app. Boom, it checks it in. It's reliable. It's credible. And it goes to a database that the probation office or, the monitoring office can see. All right, cool. That's a check-in, and we all can go out with our day. So it's a win-win for both sides, because now you're able to have an offender whose life can, resume some normalcy. And also now you've got the government agency or the probation office where they can do more with less. They're not having to have as many people to monitor the individuals now, because I've leveraged technology, this Caseless app. I can now handle a larger caseload. So in essence, it's saving the government money. So.
And how long have you had? Did you create that and sort of?
So I've got 2 other partners in it, and we've been working on it for probably two years. In fact, just got back in Atlanta yesterday. We were down in Tallahassee, Florida this week because they are in session. The state legislature's in session, trying to meet with senators and get them to buy in, and it's picking up steam. We've talked to the DA in Fulton County here. Several judges are on board across the Metro Atlanta area. People all over the country, U.S. Virgin Islands and other places are interested in the app, and I think it could be a huge game changer for criminal justice and will allow for many people an alternative to go into jail.
And I'm just curious, like, how did this come about? I mean, I know you used to do criminal work.
Yeah, as a prosecutor.
Is there a connection between your prior experience in the criminal space and this, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our CEO, Franz Morency, he was the one that brought me in and hired me as the president, just because I do have that prior knowledge, being a former DA and kind of the system, the ins and outs. So, he started naming ideas, and of course, with my experience, I brought it to the table and spitball and ran it and got some focus groups and some other individuals that are part of the criminal justice arena, and Caseless was our end result.
Nice. And you said Caseless or Caseless?
Caseless. Caseless.
Gotcha. Riah Winston Greathouse. That was fun.
Thanks, man. Good to be here, as always. Thanks, buddy. You're the man.